Hello and welcome to Creating Custom Races Part 2 for Midtown Madness 1. In the previous video, we've seen how to create the races with choosing the opponents, making the route, etc. And in Part 2, we're going to make custom paths. And in order to do so, you're going to need to download a new MN1, which I will put in the description. And to make proper use of it, we're first gonna make our little setup. So what you see here, you see a dev folder for developer, and then in the city, and then Chicago, you will now see about 500 street files or road files. Those are the files that contain the data for creating roads, simply put. So what we will do is we will let's delete the shortcuts and create a new one. This is important, believe me. So we create a shortcut, and let's keep the name simple and short. We go to properties, and here it says target. So right after this little sign, press one space, and then you should copy in this. I will also put it in the description, but this is necessary. And then, all right, all good. We press apply and we press OK. And then for the compiler that you've also seen in the first video, you should also just redirect it. So we are in the same folder. Well, this is our shortcut file. This makes sense. So here you see it is the same path. Just check this over and make sure everything is in sign. If anything is unclear, then feel free to ask. There's another thing that will be available for download, and that is the Lars BAI. It is actually quite similar to the Lars Racemaker, only that the red dots that you see here, they contain a slightly different value. And when creating custom paths, you need to have the exact value, because otherwise it is not going to work. So, okay, fine, we'll see that in a second. So our preparation is done. And now I guess let's go into the game and create our path and then see what we need to do with the files. Okay, great. Now, so we're in the game and we're gonna press Shift M, and then we're gonna press V a couple times. And now we get a nice overview of the paths in Midtown Madness. And then the next step, of course, is where do we want to make a shortcut? Well, we're gonna make it in the aquarium. So let's go there as a nice example. You can already see that this was also a custom path, or well, a shortcut that Angel Studios made but never used. So let's approach the entrance from the other side. And we want our shortcuts or our custom path to be through the aquarium. So what we'll do here is we go to, we press C a couple times, and then we go into the lowest view. And then we press V. And we do this because then we get our coordinates right, because now it's 795 and 540. And if you press V, it goes to the helicopter view, and your position changes. And when we save your position, it will be wrong. So we go here, and then what we do is we're gonna link the two intersections from and at the end part of the aquarium. So we know that this is fine. So we're gonna go a little bit in the direction, and then we're gonna press what I recommend, if you have something small but a little bit heavy, then put something on your shift key and make sure it's stable. I'm actually doing that as we speak, and I got something. And then we will slowly drive the path, and every few seconds or every small moment we will press P. And whenever we do that, it will save our position, and then we can later convert it into a path. So I'm gonna go like maybe 20 to 30 miles an hour, and let's see this. So we print 1, position 1 is saved. We go a little bit further. All right, position 2, position 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now here we're gonna, oh shit, we're gonna link our path to the red intersection over there. That is our goal. So we press Shift P, position 10, and I think that should be sufficient. And then we go back into a folder, and we see that the game created a new file, which will be very useful for us. So see you there. Okay, we're back in our folder, and we go to dev again, and here we see a new file created on the time, position, your, well, you know, just this file with the name. We open it, and there we see we printed about 10 coordinates. So what we're going to do with these, we're definitely going to use them. First, on our desktop, to keep things nice and tidy, let's create a new folder, our custom path for the video. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the city, Chicago, and we're going to take street 449, which is just one of the street files that is very simple. It doesn't contain a lot of data, so it can be our template file. All right. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna copy this, and then we're gonna rename it. So let's call it YouTube shortcuts. All right, so they contain the same data, but that's fine. So we're gonna open it. We see a bunch of stuff that may be a little bit confusing, but don't worry about it. So this part, also this part, we're gonna keep the same. We're not gonna adjust it for now. And then this part is what we're going to edit, and also a little bit of this. So what I first suggest we do is, this is like a little bit of the annoying word. It is like manual labor. You see that there's 3 values here, and they're separated with a space. And we get our file that is separated by a comma. So what you should do, we'd only need the first 3 values. So we can first take out this. And then, of course, we're going to remove the commas, which can be done a little bit quicker. This is also the part where you may make errors that can fuck things up, so be careful. All right, so this looks a little bit better. So we're going to use the template roads, or well, our new file, and we're just going to copy it over. And if it puts the lines all the way to the left, we're just going to select it all, and we're going to press tab twice. Okay. Now, one important thing is the number of lanes here. It says 1 and 1. Well, actually, we have, this is so that if you make a path, you can make it go from A to B, and then from B to A in reverse. But in our case, we only go from A to B. So we have the number of lines for case for 0, here's 1, and then here we don't have an extra path or a path going from B to A. I could do this, but it's not interesting. So what we're gonna do now is one of the most important thing is, so you may remember, like we started around here a little bit past the intersection, and then we end a little bit before the intersection. And here's where the Lars BAI is crucial, because it has the exact values that we need. So we're gonna select this one. We're gonna select this one, we click it, and then we have it. Then we're gonna go in our roads file, and then the same little process. Now we have 3 values, but we take out the commas. Okay, of course, the 800 needs to be here because it makes sense. It is close to the other values if you forgot. And then the other values should be here. So now what we've basically done is we created the path in between, and then our endpoints and our starting points are connected to the existing paths. And then you can make the opponent go a route which includes the path. Maybe I'm making it a little bit more difficult than it sounds, but let's see. So now you're gonna have to count these values. Well, not really manually. So what you just do, you see 9 till 20. Well, the difference is 11, and then you do +1. So that's 12. So you have to do this. So the number of vertices is 12. And then you also do it here, and then 1, 0. And then everything is fine for here. Okay, we created our path. This is already really good. So what we're gonna do now is of course, we're gonna copy our path in this folder where the other roads are. Okay, done. And then this is also an important part. We have the Chicago.map. And here you see all the roads that are listed. And of course, we have to include our road because otherwise the game will not read it. So what did we name it? To be precise, just copy the name over. All right. And you should always put your custom path at first, because if you're gonna use it at the end, you may have some problems. But let's not get into that. Just always do it first, and then you should have no problem. Okay, and then we save this with with Control S. And now let's see if we created our path within the game. So what is important here is that we put the file in the folder, of course, and then when we save this as well, then when we restart the game, it will recompile these bunch of files, and that will include it. So every time that you make a change to this file, you need to save this file too, and you can just simply do like space and go back, and then you resave it. Because if you only change this file within the folder, the game will not recompile it. I hope it makes sense. So let's get into the game. Alright, we're back into the game and we're back at the location. So we press Shift M. And then we closely inspect if our path is connection to this intersection. And that looks about to be right. So this is the path we created. So we only saved our positions on specific points, but the game will draw the line between 2 points. And for the end and the beginning, it will be red, and then it will alternate between blue and green, as you will see. So this is the path that we created. Let's check it out. Here we can also see it is connected to the intersection. Okay, this looks really good. So now we can actually try and create a race or an opponent that follows this route. So let's make our routes. So now we're gonna open the regular large race maker, which I have over here. So what should we do? We can start here, draw the line, and then here, of course, and then the next one will be here and let's go up. And then we have created our small race. So these values, this is like basically stuff from the part 1. So I hope you should know this. We're gonna copy this. And then we're gonna put it in an opponent file. So the first checkpoint race, which is beginner's luck. Let's also copy over this file. Have everything nicely in a folder. So they use opponent 1 R60. So okay, let's find it. Opponent 1 R60.c24. Okay. So we don't need this because we're gonna put in our own code, which is this. All right, make sure this one white line over here. Let's save it. Don't need this anymore. Okay, with the path in place, we just have to copy this over. Basic stuff, and then we're gonna recompile and start the game over, of course.
Are you ready to go streaking down State Street?
So first of all, very important, our game didn't crash. That's a good sign. We press the Shift M to see what's going on, and the opponent's going our road, and it's taking the shortcut. It's following the line pretty nicely, pretty tightly, and it's taking this turn as we said it should. And then of course it fucks up here. That was not related to me at all, and there it finishes. So that is it. That is well, that is basically it. Let me show you one more thing. Is if you can inspect the opponent, of course, too, by pressing Shift O. And then when you press Shift T, you can see how the opponent is searching for its route. It's not, you'll see. So it has a purple line, and it's also sometimes drawing green lines. It's like searching the data points by data points and then deciding a optimal line. I hope that makes sense. So you can use this feature, Shift T. It will show you how the opponent is searching for the road that it needs to go to. But that is it for making a shortcut from existing intersections like that we have from the aquarium. We have option 2 for creating custom paths is to start a race in an area without a path and then link it to one existing path. So as an example, let's say you want to start a race here, but the game has no neighboring paths. I mean, it has, but all the way over here. So if you start an opponent over there, it will say, I am lost. So let's say you want to start here and then you want to connect the paths to here. That is totally possible. So just to make it visually clear, we're gonna try and make this. Well, for this, we basically do the same, but something a little bit different. I will show you. Our path is properly created. As you see, it starts from the red, then blue and green. So what the cool thing is now, is that if you want to have a race start here, that it works fine. Like it can have some space in between, but the opponent will recognize the path and follow it. Perhaps if you put the opponent all the way over here and you tell them to start a race there, then it has a little bit of difficulty. But if you place it here, for example, it will be totally fine, and I will show you that. So I'm simplifying a little bit here. So just assume this is the data for the shortcut in the grass that you've just seen. So this starting point is not connected to anything. It's in the grass, and then this is the end point that is connected to the highway. Now, if you want to have an opponent start in the grass, then what you should do is you copy over this value, and then you put the appropriate commas there and the other values. And then what you just do is you create the starting pot. So let's say you want it to be north of that, then in this case you have to decrease the y value. Then it's north of the path. So these two you put next to each other or underneath each other, and then you know that this part is fixed. And then we go here, 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 here. And then we add in these values, so the rest of the route. Our opponent spawned successfully and it is facing the shortcut that we made. And you can see the purple line. That is just weird. Don't worry about it in the beginning. And then the green line underneath the red line shows that it's already recognizing the path. It's already made like a small path of how it wants to approach the path. So let's see how it does. So why is the opponent not going perfectly through the entrance while the blue line is? So important to keep in mind is the opponent calculates a few data points ahead of where it's actually at the moment. So you see after the blue line there's a green line and there's a right turn, and therefore it's adjusting its path a little bit. And in this case, the entrance is so small that with a little deviation, it starts hitting the wall. Not great. How you can solve this problem is by, in this case, by putting a lot of data points. So it alternates from blue to green to blue. So many points of that within the entrance, or well, in the entrance. And then it will stay on that path until it looks at the next data points, which will include a turn. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, just include more data points in the entrance. While creating custom paths, it's fun. It's definitely not always perfect. So the shortcut that we created through the aquarium is easy. It works fine. Now the second example where we go from the stadium to the beginning of the highway, here you see that we actually pass an existing roads, and the game sometimes finds that difficult. It should really follow this path, but sometimes it would maybe also go here and it recognizes, oh, I can go to the highway another route, and it actually does that, and you feel like, what are you doing, game? I also have an example where I believe the path goes from here and then it also crosses some existing roads. That it does fine, so just beware that that sometimes can give a problem. Another thing is the custom path. It could be as long as you want. That is no problem. So for example, if you want to have it out of bounds, which I have tried, you can make the path like this. And then you connect it to this intersection, for example, and then it started all the way over here. It's fine, that works, no problem. However, for a path, you should keep in mind that it has no sharp U-turn. To give you an example, if you make the path start from here, and your endpoint would be here. So let's say you want to make this path, and then it goes like this. It is sort of a U shape. So what happens, the opponent will drive like this, and then here it starts to get a little bit confused and it wants to redo the route. So it will slam into the wall here and then try and redo it. So it finds U shapes difficult. Now, why would I want to create this path? Well, the game already has the paths already there. So one additional reason for making paths, it could be the third reason, is that if you create a path from here to here, it takes a very sharp turn here, but the opponents actually do not brake. They take the path without braking. So you could also, for example, make a path from you start here and then you end here. I think this would work because there's no very well, there's a U shape, but I have a feeling it would work. So if you create a path from here to here, then the opponent will take this turn without braking. So that's also what I use in my race pack, and I think it's I don't know, it's really great for the race designing process. With that being said, I gave you three reasons to possibly explore the process of creating custom paths. I hope it was clear. There are some small details more to it, but they're not really that critical. So this is really the foundation on how you can make it. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. And lastly, a huge thank you to 0x1f9f1 because he actually wrote the code that enabled this whole editing process of the roads. Without him, no custom roads. So that is all. Thank you for watching.